Good afternoon, viewers and listeners of Concerned Citizens Media. Thank you again for coming back. I always enjoy you sharing your time with me. So I have different news to share with you in a reading and also on a different media. So I will start. Today is October 1st, 2022. So we're starting a new month now. And I will start with a government-friendly media SAT reporting about OLA, Oromo Liberation Army intensive operation in the East Showa zone. So I will start with that one, then also Oromo use in Finfinne, also Addis Ababa or Bishoftu, Debre Zeit staged a protest against Prosperity Party, against Abiy Ahmed, which is not expected, and which the Abiy Ahmed tried everything to silence this group. So they, it's supposed to be a time of celebration, but they just refused and expressed their frustration, disappointment with this government. So I have that video too. Then I will read their slogans, what they say. So I have also more other news. Thank you again for coming back. Let's start with SAT reporting on OLA operation in East Showa, and we'll continue from there. Thank you. It's in Amharic, but
አሸባሪው ሸኔ ወለጋ አካባቢ ያሰፈረውን ኃይል ጭምር በማምጣት በኦሮሚያ ክልል ምስራቅ ሸዋ ዞን ቦሰት ወረዳ አካባቢ የተጠናከረ ጥቃት መክፈቱን የአካባቢው ነዋሪዎች ተናገሩ። የአሸባሪው ቡድን አሰላለፍ ጠንከር ያለ ይመስላል ያሉት ጥቆማ ሰጪዎቹ የመንግስት የጸጥታ ኃይል በአካባቢው ቢኖርም ሙሉ በሙሉ መታደግ አልተቻለም ብለዋል። ቢልሊባዩ ተጨማሪ ያለው
በኦሮሚያ ክልል የተለያዩ አካባቢዎች መንግስት በአሸባሪነት የፈረጀው ሸኔ በሰላማዊ ዜጎች ላይ ጥቃት እያደረሰ መሆኑን በተደጋጋሚ ወደ ኢሳት የሚመጡ መረጃዎች ያመለክታሉ። አሸባሪው ሸኔ በምስራቅ ሸዋ ዞን ቦሰት ወረዳ በላይኛው አዋሽ ተፋሰስ አካባቢ በትናንትናው ዕለት በነዋሪዎች ላይ ጥቃት ከፍቷል። የሽብር ቡድኑ በከፈተው ጥቃት በርካታ ንብረት መውደሙንም ነዋሪዎቹ ለኢሳት ጠቁመዋል።
ኑራራ ሻልማት አበራዎች ይባላል። እዛ አካባቢ ላይ ነው አሁን ሸኔዎች በጣም ተቆጣጠሩ። ከተማ ቦሌ የምትባለው ከተማ ነው። 11 ካምፖች አሉ። ካምፖች ተቆጣጥረዋል። መጋዘን ምናምን አቃጥለዋል። እና ህዝቡ አሁን በስደት ላይ ነው ያለው። ወደ አዲያማ እየተጓዘ ነው ያለው። አሁን ደግሞ መኪና እንዳለ ችግሩ ነው። መኪና ቆመ ተጨናንቆ አሁን አንድ ቦታ ላይ ነው ያለው።
በምስራቅ ሸዋ ዞን መተሃራና ኑራሄራ አካባቢ ያሉ ነዋሪዎች በደህንነት እጦት ምክንያት አካባቢያቸውን ለቀው እየተሰደዱ ነው ያሉት ቅሬታ አቅራቢዎቹ የተፈናቃይ ቁጥር ከማሻቀቡ በፊት መንግስት የየአካባቢውን ሰላም ማረጋገጥ እንዳለበት ጠይቀዋል።
አካባቢው ወጣ ብሎ ሸሽት ሌላ ቦታ ነው የአካባቢውን ብሎ አልኩት እና በጣም ኃይል ታልተጨመረ ራሱ በጣም ኃይለኛ ሆኗል። አውራ ጎዳና የሚባል አስፋልቱ አካባቢ ላይ በመታራ ወጣ ብሎ የለም። አካባቢ ኃይል ተፈጽ ያለ በቃ ማታ ሁሉ ነው ሁሉ እንዳለ ወደታችን ተፈጽ ብለን ነው የሆነው። ቦሌ የምትባል ከተማ አለች። እሷ ካምፖች የተቀረችው አሁን ህዝቡ ከተጋግቶ ያለው ወደ ዘሩ ቦሌ ከተማ ውስጥ ያለው ሸጋሸጋው ወደ ቦታ ወደ አፋር ክልል አካባቢ ያሉት ሰዎች ደግሞ ወደ ቦሌ ከተማ ላይ የተሸጋሸጉ ቦሌ ላይ ተሰባስበዋል። አሁን እዚህ ላይ ህዝቡ ወደ ከተማ እየተቀላቀለ በሚመጣ ለመንግስት ኖሮ ህዝቡም ከባድ ተጽዕኖ ነው የሚያመጣው።
በምስራቅ ሸዋ ዞን ቦሰት ወረዳ የላይኛው አዋሽ ተፋሰስ አግሮ ኢንዱስትሪ ካምፕ አካባቢ ባለ ጫካ አሸባሪው ሸኔ መሳሪያ በማጥመድ ወደ ስፍራው የሚላክ የጸጥታ ኃይል ላይ እርምጃ ለመውሰድ መዘጋጀቱን ነዋሪዎች በመጠቆም ቡድኑ ሰላማዊ ዜጎችን በማገት ብር እየጠየቀ መሆኑንም ተናግረዋል።
መንግስት ወደ ያዋልካለ ናገራተ ታው ሲሞት ሲታጅክ ትዛዝ ይደምነው ሙሉ የቀን ሰራተኛ አንድ ብር ይገጥም ታጅከው ከዘመድ ያዝማር ገና ከሌላ ቦታ ሽርክ ከሚሉ ተሰባስቦ ከለቆ ነው የተሰጡ 300 ሺህ 400 ሺህ ተቀምጠው የሚባለው አሁን ባለፈው ራሱ ወደ 30 ቤት ነው ተከፍቶ መኪና ላይ እስካሁን አልመጡም። ያው ሳምንት ነው እና በመንገድ እንዳይሄድ አይቻልም። መንገድ ላይ ትርክታለህ ማታ ላይ የሻልባት ሀገር ነው እርሻ ቦታ ነው። ሁሉ ሰራተኛ ማታ ውስጥ ነው የሚውለው። ከማታ ላይ አሁን ያለ ሽንኩርት፣ ቲማቲም፣ ቃሪያ ምናምን ተተከለ ሰራተኛ ሁሉ መስራት አልቻለም።
በደህንነት ስጋት ምክንያት ዜጎች እንቅስቃሴያቸውን በማቋረጥ በቤት ውስጥ ለማሳለፍ በመገደዳቸው መንግስት በቂ የጸጥታ ኃይል ወደ ስፍራው በመላክ የየአካባቢውን ሰላም ሊያረጋግጥ እንደሚገባ ጠይቀዋል።
በጣም በሚያሳዝን ሁኔታ ትናንትና ጤታ ነው ተኩሱን የጀመሩት ሸኔዎች ማለት ነው። ተኩሱን ጤታ ማታ 3 ሰዓት ነው ያሉት። እሱም ራሱ ማለት ነው ተደቅሟቸው እንጂ ዝም ብለው አይደለም። በጣም በሚያሳዝን ሁኔታ ነው ያለነው። ግማሹ ተፈናቅሎ ስደተኛ በእግር ወደ ሌላ ሀገር እየተሰደደ ነው። እዛ ላይ ደግሞ የዘር ዋለ አማራ ነው የሚባል ነገር በጣም ነው የሚያሳዝነው። ሙሉ ከኑራይራን ሙሉ ተቃጥለዋል። አሁን ባለንበት ደረጃ ማለት ነው። በጣም
Hyundai Santa Fe versus Subaru Outback. Hyundai Santa Fe wins every time. Now get 3.29% APR on the Santa Fe.
አሁን ባለንበት ደረጃ ማለት ነው። በጣም ሙሉ በሙሉ ተይዘናል። እኛው እኔ ቶክስ ውስጥ ከቶክስ ወጣ ብዬ ነው ያለው። በጣም ማለት ነው ተደብቄ ነው የሚያሳዝን ሁኔታ ነው ያለው። ግማሹ በሩ ዘግቶ ነው ያለው። የሚበረው አቶ በሩ ዘግቶ ነው የእውነት ነው። እናቴ በይዛቱ ፓኒርኬ ነው ያለው። እናቴ ሊነክስተኝ ነው የሚገርም ተቆልፎባት ያለው።
በጉዳዩ ላይ ኢሳት የምስራቅ ሸዋ ዞን አስተዳዳሪ አቶ አባቡ አቆን እንዲሁም ሌሎች የክልልና የፌዴራል ስራ ኃላፊዎችን ለማግኘት ያደረገው ጥሪ ለጊዜው አልተሳካም።
የአዲስ አበባ ከተማ
Okay, I'll come back to this EHRC celebration. So that's about OLA military operation in Eastern Showa zone and very intensified. I don't use the word this media is using is a propaganda, is a hated word which denies the legitimacy of these groups or the grievance of these groups. So I don't want to use these expressions or propaganda words. The same thing they use for TPLF or TDF. So these are legitimate Oromo freedom fighters, Oromo Liberation Army. They have grievances with the government, and they are fighting for total freedom of Oromos and Oromia. So they are not terrorists. They are not attacking, any civilians. They have their own target. The target is Ethiopian National Defense Force and militias and those cadres working and those officials working with Prosperity Party. They are not attacking Amara, Oromo, or Gurage civilians. That's a propaganda. So they are not. They made it clear multiple times. So they are in Eastern Showa zone. They intensified their operation there in Boset district, in Eastern Showa zone. Already controlled 11 military camps, according to these individuals. And I don't know if it's for propaganda purpose, I don't know, but they say they are kidnapping and asking for ransom money from 300 to 400,000 Ethiopian birr. I have no way to prove it, but it could be part of the propaganda. It could be true. And people are in desperate situation. They are locked indoors. And they have nothing left for them to eat. They are in a very, very desperate situation, fearful for their lives, and they are calling Ethiopian National Defense Force to save them. So that is the updates on Oromo Liberation Army military operation right now in Eastern Showa zone, especially in Boset Warada or Boset district. Let's continue with EHRC celebration. Johar Mohammed also enjoying this EHRC. He's with the Oromo youth. You will see it. Irrecha is, as I said before, Irrecha is a celebration of, the end of rainy season, the end of darkness, the end of all, rivers filled up, bridges filled up, hard to communicate, hard to visit families, very, very rainy season, very cold season. So Irrecha is a celebration of that ending and a welcoming of a better season, a bright season, a hopeful season, and it's a celebration of an opportunity to go and visit family, friends with, enjoy the agricultural product. It's supposed to be that, but Keros or these Oromo youth decide, to protest against prosperity, against Oromia region administration, against Abiy Ahmed, against Fano, and calling for end of killing. So let's listen what they say, and let's see how Johar is enjoying with them. So you see, Johar is guarded with different young security officers, even though they are not armed. They try to protect him. He dressed like a military general. They will start the protest after a while. Now just shouting about Johar and protecting him and heading to a Rekha celebration, I think. This is in Finfinni or Addis Ababa.
Pump Cheese's award-winning taste can transform any occasion into a special occasion.
Okay, not an advertisement. They are actively protecting him without any armaments. They don't have any weapons. Just surrounded him from back, four sides, and watching around. Let me move it a little bit, maybe. Yeah. Now they, down Abiy, and they're talking about liberating themselves by using guns. Down Abiy. Jirtu is these are the expression of artists like Ali Hidesa, so they also remembering him, the sacrifice he paid for Oromo. They said something about OLA, it's not clear. You see, even they brought the OLA flag, which is illegal under Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, forbidden, and they also gave warning not to bring OLA flag or other flag except the flags approved by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed. Okay, so that's the taste of Addis Ababa. during Irrecha celebration.
As supporters of Russian President Vladimir.
Okay, I will come back to these videos. So this is the protest Abiy Ahmed and his associates didn't expect to see at Irrecha celebration. They did everything before the start of Irrecha celebration. They did gathering with Irrecha, Oromo elders, youths, give them warning. The Addis Ababa mayor talked to youngsters, give them warning not to do such kind of protest, despite all threats, warning, and despite heavy security presence. Keros, the Oromo youth, express their frustration and anger against what's going on under Abiy Ahmed leadership. They became the voice for Wolaga Oromos who have been suffering since Abiy Ahmed came to power, since 2018. No internet, no phone service, no other means of communication, ignored by international community, and suffered, displaced, killed by Naftenya or Amara militia and Fano, Amara Fano. So what they say, I have watched the entire video and I captured the slogans. Here are their slogans. And this is not only in Addis Ababa or Finfinne, it's also happened in Bishoftu, Debre ዘይት. So, one, down, down Prosperity Party. Down, down Oromia President Shimallis Abdisa. Down, down Naftenya, which means Amara armed killers like Fano, like Amara militia. So Naftenya is not, directed to civilian Amaras. No, Naftenya is directed to those armed forces and looting Oromos properties, livestock, killing Oromos, burning Oromos houses in coordination with Abiy Ahmed and Oromia regional governments. So they are against this and they are calling for an end of this such illegal operations. Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed cannot install or revive or restore the Menelik dynasty on Oromos and Oromia. The killings of Oromos in Wolaga and other parts of Oromia must stop. Down, down Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed of Ethiopia. We will not be ruled by Naftenya. Again, Naftenya refers to armed Amara militia, armed Amara Fano. The Prime Minister of Ethiopia, Abiy Ahmed, is a messenger of Naftenya. Fano is a terrorist group and must be out of Oromia. We will not we will not enjoy the holiday while our people in Wolaga and other parts of Oromia are being killed, their properties destroyed, and they are forced to displacement, also subjected to other brutalities and atrocities. The genocide in Oromia region and on Oromos must come to an end. So these are the general the general expression or slogans expressed by Oromo youngsters, who brought change in 2018, but that change is hijacked by Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed, and he acted against them, against the Oromos in general. So they are in a desperate situation. They are not happy with it. They want the killing to end. They want Abiy Ahmed to go away. And they are calling complete freedom for Oromos and Oromia. So they also appreciate what OLA General Kumad Ripsa is doing in Oromia. So that's the general slogans expressed in this video. If you want to watch the entire video, you can watch Awash Media and others. So if you want. So that's the other thing is Shabo Media also reported about OLA capturing one major road in Gwazaun town. This town is, I think, it's a border between Amara region and Oromia. So Shabo Media has a video showing OLA forces, controlling a major road in this town area. Gwazaun is under their control, according to Shabo Media. The conflict in Tigray, in northern part of Ethiopia, is continue. All these invaders from Eritrea, Ethiopian National Defense Force, Fano militia, Amara militia, and all militia from other regions still around, but they got defeated. By TDF forces. So TDF forces are, doing everything they can to save their people and the Tigray region. So they plan, the Eritreans, Ethiopian Abiy Ahmed plan, and the Amara's plan failed due to the bravery of the Tigrayan forces in multiple fronts. They fought back and they destroyed these invaders, but they are not out of woods yet. They are still defending some areas, and they're also conducting offensive operation against Eritreans, Amara militia, Ethiopian National Defense, and other militia. So they are not out of woods yet, but according to DW media, they killed or injured about 93K Ethiopians, Eritreans, and all combined forces. Also captured about 10K forces, and plus they confiscated heavy weaponaries, tanks, ammunition, radio communications, according to the press release from Tigray region command center. So they are still fighting, but they are gaining ground and defending Tigray and the Tigray people. So that's the update, little bit update on the conflict, the civil conflict in Ethiopia, which Abiy Ahmed refused to end it because he's not suffering. He's enjoying in Arat Kilo. His relatives are enjoying. Prosperity parties are not suffering. Why should they care? Why they want to stop? They don't feel the pain. That's why. So I will come back to other videos and let's read other news. Thank you again for joining me. This one is about European Union alarmed over totally blocked humanitarian access in Tigray, greatly impeded in affected areas in Amara, Afar. The European Union, EU, said it was alarmed at the deterioration of the humanitarian operating environment in Tigray, Amhara, and Afar regional states since the resumption of militarized hostilities in 24 August. The European Union also said the fighting has reportedly left tens of thousands of people newly displaced and caused widespread damage to civilian property and infrastructure. In a statement that Bloc released through its Commission for Crisis Management, the EU confirmed reports that the supply of humanitarian commodities and fuel, as well as cash availability, are still totally blocked for Tigray. Humanitarian access is also greatly impeded in all affected areas in Amhara and Afar. EU statement came a day after the US aid said categorized northern Ethiopia as one of the most dangerous locations in the world for aid workers who risk their lives to protect people in need. According to the EU, humanitarian organizations have to suspend their operations and withdraw some staff from conflict-affected areas. This is a serious blow to humanitarian operations and to millions of highly vulnerable people in Tigray, Afar, and Amhara that depend on humanitarian aid for their survival. Janet Lenarchik, EU Commissioner for Crisis Management, in charge of European Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid, and European Emergency Response Coordinator, said in the statement. The EU referenced the report by the World Food Programme, WFP, in which it stated that 13 million people across the Tigray, Afar, and Amhara regions are in need of food assistance as a direct result of the conflict. At the same time, Ethiopia is experiencing the most severe drought recorded since 1981, leaving an estimated 7.4 million people facing grave food insecurity. Credit at this standard. So despite all these major problems, Abiy Ahmed and his close associates want to continue the bloodshed and use the country's limited resources on this war, and never satisfied with the already sacrifices all these youngsters paid for his seat. So never satisfied with the bloodshed, and want to continue, go around, get money wherever it is through loans or whatever, and buy drones, tanks, weapons, and continue the bloodshed. You know, the country is dying, but they don't care. The country is dying, and there is no hope for young and old generation in that country. So that, and the other thing is EU and other international players are silent on the situation in Oromia. Oromia is also suffering. Oromos are suffering since 2018. As I said, Wolaga is out of international relation or domestic relation. There is no way you can reach them. No internet, no phone service, no other means of communication. So that is the situation. So we want EU, USA, United Nations to pay attention to this region and the crime carried out by Abiy Ahmed and his associates on these people. It's a genocide, really, a genocide, and we don't know much because of this internet blockade. This is about the last time, I think it's in June, in Gambella, after OLA and the Gambella Liberation Front conducted operation and left the city. Then the government carried out extrajudicial killing on civilians, not on OLA or Gambella Liberation Front. So this is a report about that. At least 50 civilians killed in extrajudicial execution by security forces, armed groups in Gambella, new report indicate. Following the June 14 clash in the capital of Ethiopia's Gambella region between the region's security forces and the coalition of armed groups Oromo Liberation Army, OLA, and the Gambella Liberation Front, GLF, civilian individuals were extrajudicially killed, according to a new report by the state rights watchdog, Ethiopia Human Rights Commission. The 13-page report says the killings were committed by government forces as well as fighters belonging to armed groups. On June 14, 2022, after 6 o'clock in the morning, the Oromo Liberation Army, OLA, and the Gambella Liberation Front, GLF, militant entered and attacked Gambella town. After hours-long clashes with the regional special forces, regular police, militia, and the federal police, government security forces retook control of the city. At least 50 actions taken mainly by government forces killed at least 50 civilians between the afternoon of 14 June and 16 June, being accused of hiding Shane fighters and weapons in their homes, the report says. Women and mentally ill individuals were among the victims. A disturbing footage of government security forces shooting repeatedly at an armed man whose hands were tied behind his back and had created an outcry on social media following the killings back in June. In addition, at least 25 people were lightly and seriously injured. Numerous people were beaten and tortured. Individuals were vandalized and looted, including by OLA, GLF, regional special forces, militias, and allied use during the conflict, said the report. According to the information collected by the Commission from the victims' families, residents, and eyewitnesses, the bodies of civilians killed by the regional security forces were collected by the regional special forces and the regular police in trucks and taken to unknown location for mass burial. The Commission also confirmed that families of the deceased were denied bodies of their relatives. The report adds that Ethiopia Human Rights Commission had requested the Gambella police on why the remains of the victims were not given to the families and why the burial places were not disclosed to the families. The response from the regional police was that no one came forward to request the bodies of the victims. A similar request was made to the city's municipality bureau, which referred Ethiopian Human Rights Commission's team to contact the federal police, but the federal police stated that the bodies were collected and buried by the city's municipality itself. The report quoted Gambella state officials saying that the OLA commonly referred to by the government as OLF Shane and the Gambella Liberation Front GLF fighters killed at least 7 civilians on the streets of the city. State officials say another 6 civilians were killed during fire exchange. the Commission has urged stakeholders to fulfill their responsibilities of ensuring accountability and justice, adding that appropriate compensation and rehabilitation support should be provided for the victims. So this is the government affiliated Human Rights Commission. It's led by Dr. Daniel Bakala. Even though, still okay, even though it's paid or financed by Abiy Ahmed and working under his blessing, still okay, just to give us, little bit highlight what is going on in that country. So, Annexation or Gambella Liberation Army, they didn't kill civilians. That's a blame game. They just attacked wherever security forces and took whatever weapons, any useful stuff for their operation. They are not against civilians. This is a propaganda. Okay, the last one, this is from U.S. State Department on the situation in Burkina Faso. Burkina Faso is experiencing the second military coup within 8 months. Second. So U.S. statement says the following: the United States is deeply concerned by events in Burkina Faso. We note that for the second time in 8 months, military officers have asserted that they have dissolved the government and the National Assembly and suspended the constitution. We join our partners at ECOWAS, the African Union, and the European Union in condemning these acts and the ongoing violence which puts in jeopardy the agreed upon timeline for a return to a democratically elected civilian-led government. We call on those responsible to de-escalate the situation, prevent harm to citizens and soldiers, and return to a constitutional order. The United States is closely monitoring this fluid situation, and we call for restraint by all actors. The United States stands firmly with the people of Burkina Faso in their aspiration for democracy, peace, development, and respect for human rights. So that's a very nice concern from U.S. State Department, from the United States, on the situation, on the second military coup in Burkina Faso. Let's continue watching a couple of videos and end today's presentation. Again, thank you for attending.
Vladimir Putin gathered in Moscow's Red Square, celebrating his annexation of 4 Ukrainian territories. On Friday, the Biden administration imposed new sanctions, a combination of asset freezes and visa restrictions on hundreds of Russian entities, officials, and their families, as well as export controls. 14 international suppliers that support Moscow's military supply chains are also sanctioned. The goal is to reduce the Russian military's capacity to regenerate, said National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan.
To undermine Russia's major sectors in technology, in industry, and of course in defense, so that its capacity to project power, threaten and coerce its neighbors, and wage wars of aggression is reduced over time. We want to send a clear message to the rest of the world that those companies, those individuals, and those countries that are going to stand beside Russia on this issue of illegal annexation, they will subject themselves to sanctions.
Following a hastily arranged referendum denounced as a sham by the West and Ukraine, Putin said the 4 regions, nearly a fifth of Ukraine's territory, now belong to Russia.
People living in the Luhansk, Donetsk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia regions are becoming our citizens forever.
Donetsk and Luhansk are home to two Russian-backed breakaway republics where fighting has continued since 2014. Zaporizhia and Kherson have been occupied since shortly after the Russian invasion began in February. On Friday, an attack on a civilian convoy near Zaporizhia killed at least 25 people. Putin said he was willing to negotiate with Ukraine, but sovereignty of those four regions is not on the table, an offer dismissed by Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky.
He does not know what dignity and honesty are. Therefore, we are ready for a dialogue with Russia, but we don't know the president of Russia.
VOA asked Sullivan if President Joe Biden shares Zelensky's position.
President Biden believes that a diplomatic solution in Ukraine is possible, but it is only possible according to the basic terms of the UN Charter that everybody signed up to.
Biden vowed to continue providing military support to Ukraine,
including additional resources that the Congress is going to give you today of $13 billion more.
The latest package includes $3 billion for arms, supplies, and salaries for Ukraine's military and is on top of about $54 billion approved earlier this year. Patsy Huswara, VOA News at the White House.
Okay, one more about Burkina Faso.
When I work on these sacred geometry stones, they take me a couple of days to paint. And the reason
Come
why
on.
is, first, with this big plumpy dot, I let it dry before I even...
The army captain of Burkina Faso, Ibrahim Traoré, ousted military leader Paul-Henri Damiba, saying in a statement read by an officer on national television Friday evening that the government had been dissolved.
Unfortunately, our common ideal was betrayed by our leader, Lieutenant Colonel Paul-Henri Sandago Damiba, in whom we had placed our trust. Indeed, the deterioration of the security situation which justified our action has been relegated to the background in favor of unfortunate political adventures. Far from liberating the occupied territories, the once peaceful areas have come under the control of terrorist armed groups. Our valiant people have suffered enough and are still suffering.
The coup in the West African country was the second in 8 months. The sound of gunfire was heard in the capital hours earlier, while demonstrators waving Burkina Faso and Russian flags demanded an end to Damiba's rule. Traoré said a group of officers who helped Damiba seize power in January had decided to remove their leader due to his inability to deal with a worsening Islamist insurgency. Damiba had ousted the former president in January, in part for the same reason. Traoré said on Friday that the constitution has been suspended, the transitional charter has been dissolved, borders are closed indefinitely, and all political and civil society activities are suspended.
Okay. So that's update on a video, and if it's good for Burkina Faso, we appreciate it. But the second in 8 months, that's too much, really. They should work it out, figure out how to resolve the issue instead of going again and again with a military coup. So, I wish something like that if it's a solution for Ethiopia, instead of continued bloodshed in that country, instead of continued atrocity in Ethiopia, endless bloodshed in that country. If somebody is smart, thinking of taking power from Abiy Ahmed and making the country stable, I am for it. Go ahead go ahead, but don't expect from Brahanu Jula or those messengers of Abiy Ahmed. They cannot do it. They cannot do it. Even millions of people perish a day in that country. They do not do it because they are the same group. But if some courageous military personnel who cares about their people, who cares about the people dying every day and about the atrocities continue in Ethiopia, if they can take over power, then pass it to civilian leadership I am for it. I will approve it. Concerned citizen will be the first to report as a breaking news. So, that's a challenge. Russia, that's totally illegal and, against international law just by, invading a country and claiming through sham referendum, forced referendum. That is not right. Russia, under Putin, they're gonna suffer. The Russians, they're gonna suffer through multiple and endless sanctions from United States, from European Union, from UN. I don't know how they're gonna survive. The only hope they have is maybe China or North Korea or maybe from Iran. They have no hope. So that's not the way to live under 21st century. They should play their responsibility. They are also against multiple UN resolution in Ethiopia. So, that's not the right way to be part of the international community. They have to play by the charter they approved, signed to it. And they cannot just invade because they have nuclear weapon or because they have heavy armament and claim other countries as their own. So that should be condemned. I'm against it. Concerned citizens media is against such kind of brutality, such kind of invasion, illegal invasion. And that's all I'm gonna say for today. And happy EHRC for those celebrating it. And I'm happy for you expressing your frustration, your anger against Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed and his associates. We need freedom, we need justice, we need independence and stability and all other kind of stuff which are good for peace, prosperity, and for the well-being of humanity in that country. So, concerned citizens media call upon Prime Minister Abiy Ahmed multiple times to resign, but he refused. He's still shopping around, buying weapons, buying drones, tanks, bullets, and continue the bloodshed. And the Keros, thank you. Oromo Youth, thank you for speaking up against this brutal government, despite all the security situation and heavy security force presence around you. I have seen some on the bridge, and some of also inside the crowd watching you. I don't know what's gonna happen next. This brutal government will use these videos to attack those individuals. But I think a one-day protest will not change Abiy Ahmed. It should be encouraged. Others must join them and continue until he resigns. You cannot force him to resign within one day. You have to, do it every other day or every day to force him to resign, to end the bloodshed, to end the civil war going on under Abiy Ahmed. So that's all I'm gonna say for today. Thank you for joining me. Please enjoy your weekend and be safe.